Hey guys, welcome back. I really appreciate it. I have got a special guest today. My friend Sarah Ford, fellow Team BioLane coach, also fellow USF Masters graduate. We wanted to talk to you guys today a little bit about mental health, okay? Both of us have some extensive knowledge in this area.
We have some field work, I like to say.
We are not licensed professionals, okay? Let's just go ahead and put that out there right now. But we do have some experiences that might be able to help you guys. We both have gone through eating disorders in the past. Most of you guys are very aware of my story. I've talked about it quite a bit. And I'm sure if you guys follow Sarah, you know a little bit about her story. But this video is kind of just to talk a little bit about some things that we went through that might be things you're going through. How we were able to overcome it, and now how we can use that as a strength moving forward with our physique goals, with our performance goals, with our career goals, things like that. So Sarah, why don't you talk a little bit about just a quick synopsis of your story, some of the things that you were feeling that led to your eating disorder, and kind of things that you did to overcome it.
So I think I kind of had the perfect storm as far as personality and genetics. One thing they kind of said in treatment is, biology loads the gun. Yep. And your environment pulls the trigger on
That's
things
a great
like
saying.
on things like eating disorders, alcoholism, depression, anxiety, etc. I have the family history of eating disorders, of addiction. I have always been a perfectionist, people pleaser, control, little kid, wanting to be perfect at everything. I remember crying because I didn't get perfect on a spelling test, or I wasn't the best in the class one time,
That's such a common trait with people. I think, and I don't know the studies, I don't know the statistics. I bet if you looked across the board at people that have eating disorders or other mental health related disorders, I bet the majority of them are type A personalities.
Oh, for sure. I mean, anorexia, it actually is, in studies, a risk factor. There is a strong correlation between those type of personality traits. So I'm one of those people, have the genetics for it. When I was 13, 14, going into high school, that's when my behavior started. It started off as, I want to go out for the cross country team in high school. I think I was partially looking for a way to fit in high school and wanting to belong to a team, to a group, wanting to have a place, wanting to be noticed, wanting to be recognized, and wanting to be perfect in that endeavor, you know?
It's a very awkward time.
It is.
And I can only imagine from a girl's standpoint that it's even more awkward.
Yeah.
Because you're going through these changes, right? You're leaving middle school, you're going into high school, you've got all these boys now that maybe you're interested in, you've got new activities that you weren't interested in. As a guy, I think we might have a little bit easier of a transition into those things.
But you're still so awkward.
We're still very awkward. I'm 35 and I'm still awkward, okay?
So I think, started running more than I was, started to quote unquote clean up my diet. I was raised very healthy. My parents, if you go over to my parents' house for a dinner, it's pretty bodybuilding actually. We always had grilled chicken or salmon for dinner, asparagus on the grill and, a potato or starch or something. So that was my, dinner growing up. Food wasn't off limits, but it was kind of like my mom didn't buy, fun foods, but she would bake it, if we were going to have something like that.
Yeah.
So I had a very healthy, food relationship. It wasn't that. It was just, to me, cleaning up my already pretty clean diet was kind of like eliminating chips or, things like that. And then the more I read on, media of carbs, like, fear carbs, fats are bad, this is bad. So eventually my list of what was bad got very, very long. My list of what I could eat got very, very short. My running mileage increased and I was just dropping weight, like that. And I'm sure David can attest to this, but I think for someone that has this predisposition, once you start losing the weight, it triggers something in your head and it's just off to the races. Your
brain chemistry literally changes and you're almost unaware in a way. When I was going through, so Sarah and I actually went through the same treatment facility. Just at she was there slightly before I was.
I was diagnosed officially at 14, and then I went into treatment So I was diagnosed in September and then went into treatment 2011 in February or in March. Had my 15th birthday in a treatment center.
Yeah,
So
and I was just a few
11.
years later, although I was a lot older when I went in, because as you guys know, I went through the Army first. That's where a lot of my stuff happened.
Well, I went back again in 2015. So
I
wasn't a one-hit wonder.
And that's when your second time going back is, I think you got out just a few months or something before I actually went in.
Yeah.
But I think that it's really interesting because she talked about her background. I'm from Indiana. I'm from not like the country, but a very country-esque type of environment. None of my family, there was no history of eating disorders.
Yeah.
There's history of, being a workaholic, history of other addictive behaviors and stuff like that. But I was never taught to fear food. And as a guy, body image wasn't really an issue, especially growing up in the, I was born in '84, so growing up in the '90s, growing up in the early 2000s, going off to college and stuff. And honestly, none of my stuff happened until the Army. And for me, a lot of it was a control issue. If any of you guys have been in the military, you realize you have no control over anything. I literally had to ask someone if I could go take a piss.
Yeah.
That hit me as a 24-year-old man who had gone through college, had a real outside corporate job before, was a personal trainer, went into this environment with a bunch of 18-year-olds who needed that structure. That was really hard for me to kind of let go of that control.
Well, yeah.
It was actually fun during basic training though, because I knew it was a game. But then when I got on to like my medic training and other areas, it started to become an annoyance.
And frustrating.
And then it was very fearful. Then I got very fearful for a lot of reasons. And that had to do with a few different things. Deployment was a very interesting time. And then when I was on deployment, I applied for officer school and got flown around to different bases over in Iraq and everything, met with generals, got the okay, got the sign off, but my unit didn't send my paperwork back in time and I was denied. And that really set me off. Yeah. I felt like a failure. I felt like a waste. I felt like, what the hell am I doing? And then I took it all out of myself.
And that's I think we can, for both of us, there's a lot of unknowns, a lot of lack of control. So what can we control easily?
Yep.
Food, exercise. I'm pretty sure, but you've never been overweight in your life.
No, I've always been very athletic, very healthy. I'm actually, right now, weighing in this morning on February 25th.
Yep.
February 25th. I'm not the heaviest I've ever been, but I'm getting back up to, I'm at 172.
I'm the same. I have been healthy or petite or underweight my entire life. Pre-eating disorder, never was, was athletic, played all the sports. So this isn't about, you don't have to be, it's not about the weight.
That's the issue that I was getting at, is that it's really not about the weight. When I was going through my behaviors, it was actually really weird because mentally, this is how your brain chemistry changes. I thought what I was doing was going to make me more jacked.
Oh, I did too. I thought I was
Bodybuilding has been a love of mine since I was a teenager. And I literally thought, the more you work out, the more, the healthier I eat, the more muscle I'm going to gain. And you get this tunnel vision.
Yep.
And you don't really realize what you actually look like and what you're actually doing. I described it to my therapist one time as, I felt like I was outside of my body, looking down on myself and having no control over my actions. I knew what I was doing, but I could not stop myself from doing it. And that was the mental
and that's when it's truly taken over. I vividly remember doing all these things and knowing you're killing yourself. I knew I was doing the exact opposite. And I think what really kind of first started flipping the switch and pulling me out of it was when I was younger, being introduced to our dietitian at where we went to treatment, and getting that education about nutrition. I remember being just, this was when I was younger, so first really introduced to this, really just mind blown. Wow, carbs, I need carbs to be a better runner, to be a better athlete. Wow, I need fats for my hormones. what? Like,
that's the issue with the media now, is that a bunch of uneducated people are trying to give you advice.
And then as I've, grown and done my own research, gone to school, gone to graduate school, and learning about the human body, learning about metabolism, learning about physiology and exercise, and what I truly need to do to be healthy first, and then to achieve my, the physique that I want, has been such a, a game changer, and it's empowering to have that education.
It is, and
then apply it. That's the thing.
It's kind of interesting going on, touching on what she said about, our therapist and our dietitian that we had. It was a little bit different for me because, so Sarah and I are about 13 years apart. You're 22, right?
I'll be 24.
Oh, sorry. Okay, so we're like 11, 12 years apart, whatever. But I'm not going to say I was as educated as I am now about nutrition, about anything, but
you're older.
I was older, and I knew quite a bit at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually resisted her a lot.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, no.
I knew more than you.
Not that I knew more than her, but I was like, no, a calorie is not just
my second time in treatment, I was 19, and it was a little bit more like that.
Yeah. But that's also the mental health issue that comes into play, and that's really where we're getting at. We wanted to give you guys a little bit of a background of what we were going through, but mental health is so important. We don't know, and I don't know if we're ever really going to know as exercise scientists, as a population in general, how much the brain actually controls all of our actions. We do know, obviously, everything starts here. You can't snap your fingers without thinking about it, right? But how your mental outlook affects your job, affects your family, your relationships, right? Affects your gym performance, affects your physique.
Affects your digestion, your health.
Everything.
Yeah.
It all requires mental health, right? There's a lot of people out there that I think have this stigma, or feel like there's a stigma like they can't go get help. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what led me down to such a destructive path. I mean, I ended up in the ICU for 30 days.
You're never going to think you're bad enough. You're never going to think that you're worse off. But I feel like us sharing this, you know, hopefully we reach someone early.
Right. And that there is no hopeless act. Like it's never too late. You can always find help. You can always reach out to somebody. But if you're struggling making the dietary changes you need to make, you're not performing well in the gym, your relationships are falling apart, your career is not advancing the way, you might want to start looking at the way that you're approaching things mentally. How we talk to ourselves determines a lot of the actions that we're going to do, or that we're going to perform. That's one big thing that it was really strange to me, because I always thought of myself as a confident person. I always thought of myself, I was one of the most popular guys in my high school. I was an athlete. I was all this stuff. But it still even got to me at some point. And it's going to get to everybody at certain points in our lives. We're not indestructible. We're not robots. We have feelings. We go through situations, and you're going to feel self-doubt at times. You can't let that self-doubt take over your mental health and your mental approach and outlook. So
yeah, and I think we both have had a lot of therapy, a lot of time in recovery and on this journey. And I think, I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy, but I know it's made me, and I'm sure David can agree, that it's made us better coaches, better friends, and better, people for ourselves, because we are able to recognize these personality traits that we have, these things that we have to be aware of that can either shuttle us to succeed, or they can bring us down. So it's finding that balance for yourself. And being really honest and being able to check in with yourself on your mental health. And I think it makes us better athletes.
Absolutely. You touched on something, being able to, be honest with yourself.
That's number one. It wasn't until I got honest with myself. So I went to treatment again at 18, so went to treatment 14, 18, relapsed, again and again and again. It wasn't until I was 21, 22 that I really, I was relapsing again, and I guess I was 21 and was really like, what the heck? And that was when I truly got honest with myself and everyone around me and I think entered recovery for real, because I was owning every step of the way, even when I was struggling.
Yeah.
You know, I was honest about it, and that's been the difference and continues to be the difference.
Now, I don't want to speak for you, but I'll speak for me, and you can chime in if this is something that you experienced. But for me, it was never about the food. It was never really about the body image or the exercise. Mine was a pure control issue. Mm-hmm. Those were just the things that I manifested, that I used to kind of control this fear, right? To try to take things back. For most people that I find, they'll contact us about coaching. They're saying, you know, I think I might have this trouble eating with an eating disorder. I have these thoughts. What should I do? Like, go talk to somebody, because more likely than not, it's probably not really about the food. It's probably about something deeper. That was the issue for me. Mine dated back to childhood, to my parents getting divorced. I mean, obviously other things along the way confound that and stuff. But you have to get to the root issue of anything. Mental health is such a, I don't know what I'm trying to say. It's kind of such a wide range of diagnoses. Mm-hmm.
It's complicated.
It's so complicated, guys. And most of the time, we don't really understand what's really triggering us to do an action. Mm-hmm. We just know the action, and we know what's right in front of us. Somebody pissed us off, we're going to do something, right? Well, why did what they did piss us off? What in your past, what's deeper down causing you to actually act out on these actions? And that's what I found therapy to be very, very helpful for, and really, really learn to dig into my own mental health and mental thought process, which helps today. Mm-hmm. There's still things that trigger me.
Oh,
There's
absolutely.
always going to be things that trigger us.
But with, you know, all that practice, all those years of going to therapy, and then all the practice of recognizing this in your daily life, it gets easier. You know, I'm able to really, you know, back to the honesty, check myself now. You know, like when I, for example, I know that I'm, you know, just really stressed out, and, you know, maybe I start trying to control my gym workouts, and I'm very rigid with my gym routine. I step back and say, what is this really about? You know, or I wake up in the morning and I just feel, you know, I have those thoughts of, I feel, or I was going to say fluffy, you know. You know, for me, it comes out in body image. You know, I feel fat, which fat is not a feeling. You know,
it's not.
So I'm like, I don't even let myself go there. I'm like, stop it. What's really going on? Oh, I have XYZ stressors, you know, like that's what's going on. How do I address these stressors, and how do I help myself there? Because that's what is at the root of this.
Right.
So.
I'm going to pause it, Neville. I think it's going to stop here in a second.
Yeah.
Okay, so another important aspect to consider is your social support, right? This could be your friends, this could be your coworkers, your family, your spouse. Mm-hmm. I know for me, that's been a tremendous help. Is my wife is very supportive, non-judgmental, and she understands, because she's dealt with not the same issue, but everybody has their own issues that they deal with. So finding that supportive spouse, friend, coworker, mentor is so crucial, and don't be afraid to open up to them and talk to them. Who are some of your support systems?
Definitely my fiance, but you know, my friends, David, some of my coworkers, you know, even you know, I be honest, I still see a therapist every you know 8 weeks or so, just because for me, I'm in a time where I know I have more stress going on, and for me, it's having that outlet. You know, it's
you're
kind
being
of
proactive. With it,
like same thing. Like I see a massage therapist once a month. You know, to stay on top of my body. So I stay on top of my mental health by having my therapist.
That's a really good point to bring up, and we weren't even going to talk about this, but we put so much time and effort into taking care of our body from training, right? We put no effort into taking care of our mind, and going to a therapist should be looked at like going to a chiropractor. Yeah. You're adjusting your body at a chiropractor, you're adjusting your mind with a therapist, okay? Think about some of the athletes that I have admired the most in my life. One of them, probably the most, unfortunately, just passed, Kobe. Yeah. But I grew up near Chicago. I grew up in the Michael Jordan era, okay? These two athletes particularly shaped my sports outlook my mentality, my drive, the way I practiced it, everything was because of these two guys.
Mamba mentality.
And their mentalities, Mamba mentality. And Jordan was a fierce competitor. But these are two of the most mentally tough athletes that have ever walked the face of the earth. Obviously, there's plenty of other ones to talk about too. But when you go and you talk to anybody, most people will talk about their mental tenacity. And you have to have that. Without that drive, without that mental strength, they wouldn't have been able to accomplish half of what they wanted to. They would have both told you like they would have just been average athletes if it wasn't for their drive, their passion, their determination. So taking the effort, taking the time to actually strengthen your mind, go work with somebody that can take you through and do, like vision tech, like
reframing or cognitive behavioral therapy,
things like that. Visualizing. That's what I was trying to say.
And you're not, if you're struggling, you're not weak. You're not weak for having issues, for having, struggles, because we all do. I think what makes someone weak is when they give up. Is when they stop trying. And
wanting to give up.
I'm trying to say this in a politically correct way.
My channel's not about that.
You're not, okay. Well, you can't stop trying. Mental strength looks different at different phases, but, and no one can do that for you. No one can make you recover. No one can make you, come out of your funk. No one can make you, get on track with your nutrition and your training. No one can do it for you. You gotta dig deep, journal about it, word vomit some thoughts. Like, what is this about? Give yourself some rah-rah pep talk if you need to. But I think, I don't know how to, you can't make someone want it. You have to want it for you, and you have to realize what is most important to your life and what you need to do to get there.
Well, that's why she mentioned she was in treatment a couple times. I went through 4 different treatments.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't ready for help yet.
We didn't want it. You didn't want it. And that's the end of the day. I have people that reach out to me that are struggling with eating disorders, and I can, tell them blue in the face how the other side is, and why it's worth it and why they need to eat more. But at the end of the day, it's so sad, but until they truly want it and truly want to make those steps out of their comfort zone, it's not going to happen. And that's how you get stronger. It's by taking those baby steps and, challenging just a little bit those thoughts in your head. It gets easier. It gets easier, and you have to keep showing up for yourself, be vulnerable, and, being vulnerable and being brave, and being strong isn't, just head down trucking it,
right?
Because I can fake it till you make it all day long.
Yeah.
But it's until you truly show up for yourself and continue to do the next right thing, that's when the strength comes mentally and the changes start to happen. Yeah,
and it's gonna be scary.
Yeah.
It's gonna,
and that's part of this.
It's gonna be one of the most uncomfortable things you go through, but you have to go through it. I can't sit here. I've had certain situations where people have come to me and said, "Can you talk to this person? Can you do this?" I'm like, "Yeah, but it's not gonna do any good. It's not that I don't want to help, but they don't want help." And you have to, like Sarah was saying, you have to want help. And if you decide you don't want help, you can't bitch and moan about your circumstances, okay? You can't throw a pity party and say, "Oh, I just can't do this, I can't do this," if you're not taking the actions to actually do something for it. Is it gonna happen overnight? No. Are you gonna fall flat on your face a few times? 100%. But it's okay to have those thoughts of, "Oh, I just wanna give up." It's not okay to follow through with those thoughts, okay? It's a very normal human response to say you want to quit. But the ones that are most successful are the ones not that do everything perfect, but the ones that have the least amount of bad days. So you just got to keep that in mind. You just got to keep moving forward.
And something that I think is very beneficial to talk to people about, something that might help you, is your bad days. So your perception matters. Your stress perception.
Yeah, 100%.
There's actually a lot of new research coming out about this. Lauren Collin talks about it a lot, but stress perception. So, you can have 2 people, and I see this with my clients all the time. They could have equal stressors, right? Maybe they're going through a divorce, maybe, work is stressful, maybe they have a child with special needs, et cetera, et cetera. And, one person looks at those stressors as things that they are capable of overcoming. It sucks, but they have the tools, they're confident in their self, and, they check in with me and they're like, yeah, I have this, but I'm doing this, and, still got my nutrition, I meal prepped, I'm still doing, making it happen. And the other person is like, I have all this stress and I just, I can't do it, and I'm gonna fall apart.
I got this, I got that.
I got that, and this is, my nutrition is just, it's the perception of the stress, right? It's one person looks at it as empowering, as something that they're capable of overcoming, and the other one looks at it as something in a very defeatist attitude. Mm-hmm. So kind of checking in with yourself and how are you looking at your stress? Okay, David, for example, told me today that he, went to the gym forgot his gym bag.
God,
he could have crumbled. Like he could have been so I could have walked in here today and he'd been a total, puss, right? Yeah. About it. But he was like, you know what? It is what it is. And I'm going to, I'm just switching my rest days around, and tomorrow I'm going to go work out.
But in all fairness, 5 years ago,
you would have had a meltdown.
It would have been the worst thing. You guys wouldn't have wanted to have been here. But
yeah,
she's right. It is all about perception. And I don't know if you guys follow him much. He is one of my favorite people in the fitness industry, but Seth Feroce.
Okay.
Seth is very vulgar. Seth is very direct. Seth is a very blue-collar Pennsylvania farm boy, okay? Now he's a little rough and rugged for some people's liking and stuff, but he tells the truth, and he speaks things the way that they need to be heard. And he said one thing that helped him get over some family issues he was going through years ago, broke as hell, losing contracts with supplement companies, all that stuff, is he's like, you know what? I don't have problems. I don't have problems. I just have more work to do.
Yeah.
And that attitude right there, I heard him say that probably for the first time maybe 6 months ago. That was like a light bulb going off in my head. Not to say that I still don't bitch and moan in my head, or even to my wife sometimes, but I really stop and think now, okay, is this really a problem, or do I just need to do more work, right? I'm healthy. I've got a very loving wife at home. I've got a good job. I get to work with some amazing people. I've got great friends. My injuries are healing, so I'm able to start training again more regularly. So I don't have problems.
No.
I don't have a kid with a special needs issue. I don't have all this stuff, but even those are just circumstances that come up. You can find something good in every situation.
There's always a silver lining. It's just up to you to find it. And I think, kind of that's where we're at, in our journeys. Is in the past we would have reached for, we'd be like, oh, this is out of my control.
Yep.
I'm going to control this, and not even realizing self-sabotaging, or even at some point realizing we were self-sabotaging, but continuing to do it because, life is hard, and I'm gonna do me, and forget the rest of the world. I'm just gonna restrict or over-exercise. But kind of as we've evolved in our recovery, David, how has control shifted for you? I mean, because it's something. I say I am in recovery. I don't say I'm recovered, because for me, it's gonna be this thing in the back of my head. I know it. I know. I'm not naive enough to think that I'm going to, be able to go, eat a piece of cake and a piece of pie and have no anxiety about it. You know what I mean?
Right.
For me, that's my truth. But I'm going to not ramble and go back to control and things that we're always going to have to deal with. So
I think the big thing for me was understanding what I can and can't control.
Yeah.
Once you recognize that, that's 90% of the solution right there. I can't control the weather.
Yeah.
I can't control other people's actions. I can't control what they say. I can't control traffic jams, and believe me, that's a big one for me. I hate traffic.
Yeah.
But what I can control is I can wake up every morning. I can choose to be thankful. I can choose to have a positive outlook on the day ahead, knowing damn well that there's a lot of things that could go wrong and might go wrong. But you can't wake up choosing to believe that at first. You have to believe that the day is going to go great. You have to believe that when something does come in your way, you're going to be able to overcome it.
Yeah.
That you're going to be able to think rationally. You're going to be able to take a deep breath, think about how to solve the issue, solve it, and move on. Okay? I can control what I can and can't put in my mouth, which in the past was detrimental. But because I reframe my brain now, I've gotten to the root issue and solved what was really bothering me before. That control does not take a hold of my life, okay? I can control how much exercise I do or do not do. Mm-hmm. Once again, going back to it's not something that is detrimental in my life anymore. I can control, for the most part, how I run my business, how I run my coaching. But I know that there's certain things, like I mentioned before, that I can't control. And letting go of that did not happen overnight.
No.
And I'm not going to sit here and pretend that like there's some days that I don't wish I can try to control that. But as you get more comfortable and as you go through more therapy,
it's
as
reps.
you practice, it's reps.
It's
That's
reps.
A great way to put it.
You go to the gym, you put in the reps to get stronger, you put in the reps to get, hypertrophy, to grow muscle. You put in the reps with your mental health and it gets easier.
Yep. And I'm not going to say this works for everybody, but for me, I always keep a reminder close of what it was like. I keep a picture of what I looked like. I keep notes of what I was thinking at that time to remind myself of how I don't want to resort back to that person. How I'm a completely different person at this point because of what I went through. And my wife and I have talked about that if we would have met each other 4 years ago,
yep.
it wouldn't have worked out.
It wouldn't have happened, yeah.
Because she wasn't in the right place and I definitely was not in the right place to be accepting. And I think that's the huge part right now, is that I'm very accepting of everything that comes in my life, and I'm very accepting of things that leave my life.
Yeah.
And I don't get too emotionally attached to anything that's not my family. Basically, that's not my family.
Yeah.
Because everything else is very, very fluid. So learning to differentiate between what you can control and can't control has been huge for me.
Serenity prayer.
Yep.
Serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Absolutely.
And Sarah, and I did too, I mean, we're very much perfectionists, but I think we've both kind of loosened that grip a little bit.
For
and
sure.
What are some of the things that you've done differently?
I think for me, the perfection, of course, first recognizing that you can't control everything.
Yep.
You can't be perfect. Perfect doesn't exist. And I think it kind of goes back to honesty and owning my truth,
Yeah,
and the more authentically I could show up as myself, it's about getting real. That was for me, was that authenticity, getting real, and perfection is not real. And knowing that I was, like I said earlier, doing the next right thing. That was powerful for me. Not fake it till you make it. I hate that saying. I don't know. I just
it's catchy, but I hate it.
I hate it because I could fake it all day long,
We faked it for years.
Yeah, I faked that.
And we didn't make it anywhere.
Yeah, had perfection, whatever that is. But for me, it was doing the next right thing, and seeing that even if initially things didn't seem perfect, they had a way of straightening out,
Mm-hmm.
later on in life or, down the road. And, owning my story and knowing that this is it. This is life. And if you always searching for perfection is going to leave you unhappy. I think that was big for me. And then realizing where perfection was holding me back, actually. I don't know if this, is true for others, but for me, I was so focused on doing everything perfectly that I would end up almost procrastinating, because if I couldn't do it perfectly, I wasn't going to do it, or I wasn't going to start, or I wasn't going to share it or publish it, et cetera, et cetera. I had to search for, nutrition and training. the perfectionism. I wanted to do my nutrition perfectly. I wanted to do my training perfectly. I would research for so long, training especially, trying to find the perfect program. I still have to catch myself doing this, you know.
I think one thing is, just touching on that's really interesting, that even though I've been doing very well for a long time now, when we got into our master's program, something really hit me that I think even nailed it even more. And that's the fact that the more research we did, the more examining different methods, different diets, different training protocols, we realized that there's a lot of things that work.
Yeah.
So there is no one perfect way. And you know, learning that, and like I said, I knew that beforehand, but it really hit the nail on the head when you start digging into it and educating yourself, like you were talking about. That's the big thing, is when you start being proactive and educating yourself, new doors open.
Absolutely.
New doors in your mind open.
And I think that, that's very true. So it was realizing there is no perfect, and you know, it's more fun that way anyway. It's more fun to experiment and learn your body, and you know, start learning about you. So for me, it was like starting to learn what my body responded to, and kind of seeing myself as an experiment almost with my training and nutrition. And you know,
you're your own scientist.
And back to grad school, research and science is not perfect. You know, facts kind of tend to have a half-life. You know, and it's you know, taking the time to learn about you is empowering. You know, and that being empowered yourself again kind of helps with the perfectionism. Okay,
so to wrap things up here a little bit, what is probably the biggest lesson, I hate to say lesson, the biggest thing that you learned through your whole experience, through, you know, strengthening your mental health and all that, that you use today to help your training?
I would say, that's a good question. Because there's a couple things. I would say biggest thing probably would be my intuition. I think that is a strong trait that I have developed through recovery. Is being able to check in with myself, being intuitive about self-aware about what I need, you know, and then acting on that, listening to that intuition. I think that's helped me as an athlete. Hey, this isn't working. Or if I read something or someone tells me something, gives me a suggestion, if it feels icky for me, if it doesn't feel right, listening to that. And then I think it helps me very much so as a coach, you know, diving into things deeper, and you know, really helping a client kind of find that you know, what's really going on and what's really going to work, you know, for themselves.
I think we've both, as coaches, maybe more so than even other coaches, just through experience, like going through this, is that I think we can kind of read between the lines a little bit better.
Yeah, we have a radar for things.
Yeah, not saying that everybody that has an issue has an eating disorder issue.
No, of course not.
But mental health, because eating disorders are mental health issues, right? So, like I said earlier in the interview, that like there are so many different forms of mental health diagnoses, right? There's so many more that are undiagnosed that there's just no name for, right? So being able to spot certain trends in people's actions or lack of actions and the words that they're saying is very, very useful. Actually, I had a client that started with me 4 weeks ago who I mentioned it from the get-go that I thought he had a little bit too much of a body image issue. We were trying to go through a reverse diet. I kept telling him, please just go talk to somebody. Okay. I'm not qualified to handle what is deeper, but I'm qualified to tell you that you probably need to go talk to somebody.
Absolutely.
He got back to me last week and he said, listen, I need to put this on hold. My therapist and I think it's probably best for me not to concentrate on tracking macros right now, to get so obsessive with stuff. I said, that's fine, man. I'm here when you're ready to come back.
Honestly,
glad you got your help.
Yeah, as a coach, that would make me so happy to know that my little nugget, my little nudge in the right direction really got someone help.
Because that's what coaching is. Coaching's not about just putting numbers on. It's about changing people's lives.
Yeah.
Now, I definitely want my career to go more towards like prep coaching and all that, but I will have always as much satisfaction with helping the general pop with weight loss, muscle gain, or mental health as I will for anybody to get first call outs or win a show.
I mean, I've had 50-year-old women tell me Sarah, I went for a walk today and was confident enough to wear shorts.
That's awesome.
Like,
that is fucking awesome.
That's like, that's so rewarding. Yep. You know, what would you say, you know, through your story has been the biggest,
Ooh.
You know, what have you learned in recovery that's translated into your life?
I think...
Only choosing one.
Yeah, because there's two I definitely want to choose. I think discipline. And that's really weird for me to say because I was always have been a very disciplined person. But discipline in a different way now.
I've probably my number two.
Yeah, discipline to pull things back.
Absolutely.
I've never had an issue. When I'm in there, I'm full bore. Like when I'm playing basketball, whatever I'm doing, I'm so mentally into it. It's having the discipline to back things off. Because
discipline looks different for everyone.
It does. And for very type A personalities and very competitive type A personalities, I'm never trying to really, unless I'm playing someone specifically, I'm competing with myself every day. And that's a lot more intense than any competition I can have with somebody else. And especially when you're in bodybuilding.
Yeah.
That's all there is you versus you, right?
And the changes are so small and gradual.
Yeah, you have to be disciplined to know when to pull back, but also be disciplined to realize that change takes time.
And stick it out.
So that would be mine. But if you guys are experiencing any mental health troubles, things you're kind of concerned about, reach out to somebody. Even if it's for eating disorders and you don't have an eating disorder therapist around, reach out to somebody because you're probably going to find that it has something to do with something else.
Yeah.
And if not, then they can get you in contact with somebody. But just please do not wait. Mental health is it's a growing epidemic.
Yeah.
And it's not going to stop anytime soon. Medications are not always the answer. For some circumstances, they are. But you need to do that in combination with a therapist, right?
Yeah.
So please go get your help. Go seek it out.
And don't be afraid to just do a simple Google search of free support group.
Oh, yeah, it's great.
You know, if you're dealing with, you know, eating, put eating free support group. If you're dealing with, you know, drug, alcohol, depression, etc., trauma, Google free support group. They're out there. There's 12-step groups. You know, you don't have to, you know, be, you know, an alcoholic even to go to a 12-step meeting. You might get something out of it. But the resources are out there and available, and it's just a matter of searching for them.
Absolutely. Well, I want to thank Sarah for coming on. I'm sure we're going to be doing many more videos because, like I said, we are both coaches here with Team BioLane. We both have our masters in exercise science. Where can they find you?
You can find me on Instagram. That's where I'm most active. Sarah with 2 H's _Ford. And I guess Team BioLane, you know, follow the team. Yep. You'll see me there. My email is sarah@biolane.com.
And I'll put all her information in the description box below. And of course, you know, you can find me at Mathis Fitness on Instagram. You're obviously following my YouTube channel, so you don't need to do that. But if you're not subscribed, please do so.
Definitely.
And then I also have a website, www.coachdavidmathis.com, where I put up weekly blogs. You can see some client progress, pictures, and learn a little bit more about me. So thank you guys for tuning in. We really appreciate it. Sarah, thanks again for hopping in here. And if you guys have any other topics for videos you'd like Sarah and I to cover that I haven't already covered on my channel, or you want a little refresher, please let me know. Reach out to me, all right? You guys have a great day.